Hello, artists of all ages. Welcome to my studio. My name is Niki. I'm a visual artist based in Marley Park, and I make things from wool in a technique called felting. Today, I'm going to share with you something that I came up with during the first lockdown. It's called stained glass felt. In fact, I'm going to show you only one part of it that I call patchwork felt. And if you're curious about all the parts of this technique, you can check Kaylen's video of how to make felt, and you can check Liadan's video on how to make from patchwork felt stained glass felt. So I am going to show you first a few samples, then I'm going to do a demonstration of the technique from start to finish, and hopefully that will inspire you to give it a go yourself and maybe create something that you would be very curious to explore together. So I'm going to be swapping cameras from time to time to show you the technique while I'm showing you some of my samples. So in this technique, you can do almost anything. You can start from something as simple and unassuming as a feather, and by using cuts off of colorful felt, you can make any type of feather. The first one that I show you is my interpretation of a phoenix. This here is my first attempt to make a heron feather, and some of them are finished with borders that show just what I believe to be transforming something that is patchwork felt into a stained glass felt. And you can do the borders in various ways. Some of them are done with freehand machine embroidery. This is a collaboration between myself and Etna from Enrich Stitching. You don't have to follow a pattern that I would be doing today. You can just experiment with your own ideas. And the borders which we show would be done all in with felt, with needle felt, but you can also have a go at actually finishing the borders with freehand machine embroidery. In this same technique, I have done also birds as birds of a feather, and I have done a peacock in various color combinations. I have done a small wren, a budgie, and here's another peacock, and this peacock will be the core of our work today. As you would see in this technique, you can create various ideas. You can just use pre-felts to be trapped in a colorful background. The one that I did first was this piece. It's called Wool Makes You a Saint. And it's something that is at the moment on show with International Felt Makers Association as part of their exhibition Reconnect. But also you can start with something much more minimalist, like just looking at the stones in front of your house and trap pre-felts that way, and then raise them by embellishing and manipulating the fabric with freehand machine embroidery. Depending on your story and your imagination, you can end up with things that look as ancient or as a contemporary as you feel like it. I would like to finish the sample showing by showing you this piece, which used this stained glass technique by making it a 3D and finishing it with stuffed wool to create this 3D effect. It comes from a place where people believe I am Bulgaria, which I think used to be, but now I'm from Dublin 8, where I live with my family, my husband, my 2 girls, our cat Bongo, our gecko Frankie, and they all love felt. But this piece in my home country, Bulgaria, we used to make wool duvets that was stuffed and also had this complex relief. And when I was doing this, it reminded me of feeling safe and connected to my past and to my present. So now that I've shown you those samples, I'm going to show you what we're going to be making today, which is just a bird. Okay, the bird that we're going to make would be actually living with the borders, but you can finish it either with freehand machine embroidery or with needle felt border at some other stage. If you watch the video with Liaden. Now I'm going to put our samples aside and let's start making. Now I've put the samples aside and we're going to start making our bird. This is my project book. It contains all the different samples and how I developed them and how I cut them. You can find all the patterns on the Keep Well and Felt With Us website. They're available there for download, as well as you can look for different ideas and see what other people have made. Now I'm going to move on to the fun part, which would be, for this part, you would need the pattern and you would need pre-felts. If you don't know how to make pre-felts, please watch Kaylan's video and follow it. Now I'm going to switch my camera and show you the pre-felts, and we're going to start with the technique. For this work, you would need a pair of scissors, a pair of good scissors, a pair of scissors for cutting paper, which any maker that works in textile believe to have to be different, and your bubble wrap and your pattern. So let's start making. Okay, so you have that pattern that you can download from the website, and for this project you would need wool the length of your forearm. I'm going to use a blend of 2 colors here, and I'm also going to be choosing pre-felts. All the pre-felts that you see here are made with just with several colors, but predominantly with 2 or 3 colors of wool, just to give you a more interesting effect. when you work with them. So the first thing that you would need to be doing is to cut your pattern. For that, you would need your pattern and a couple of safety pins and your paper scissors. Okay, now we start with cutting the pattern. I'm a bit rubbish in cutting, so that should hopefully will inspire you, because if I'm not that great, have nothing to worry about. Much easier for you. I have limited use of my right hand, which makes the work to look. I have limited use of my right hand, so if I can do it, I have no doubt that you would be absolutely flying through it when we do it. So the first thing is to cut the patterns, and I will try to keep also the bottom of this. So in most of the projects I have worked with two colors, but feel free to use as many colors and as many pre-felts that you would like. You can embellish them with a little bit of silk. You can also as you've seen, you can put some beading on them at a later stage. So the only limit of this project is your own imagination. Cutting those patterns. And it's really important to keep the patterns in a way that you will be able to recognize them after that in what order they go, because believe me, even with something as small and unassuming as this, you can get really easily confused. Well, at least I do anyway. So I'm just accommodating my own mind that wanders off fast from places. So here's the bird, and you could cut those bits here if you like. I sometimes don't bother as much because I find that it's actually very easy to change a little bit the pattern. You don't have to follow it completely from start to finish. So I'm going to put this at the bottom of my table. As you can see, I have a towel. The towel is here to be soaking the excess water that you will get when you work with wool, the way I do anyway. Some people don't use as much water. It will be advisable to have an extra towel with you for this project. And now I would choose my bird. And today I think I'm going to go with a wonderful green parrot. I haven't made that many green birds, and I really love actually parrots. My sister and myself used to have a parrot when I was a child, and so decide which one would be the top of your bird, which color you want to use. I'm going to go for this really brave green that is on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm putting the pattern on the back, so you won't be able to see. This is the part that you won't be able to see, and this is the side that I'm going to use for my bird. I'm going to pin this pattern with a couple of pins. And again, this is really necessary for someone like me who doesn't have all the use in one of her hands. But it's actually a good practice. And if you want to do it and you feel a little bit unsure of why, you can always use the excuse that all the couture seamstresses do it as well. So you just, as you can see for this part, I'm using my good scissors. Those scissors are magical. They came up from a friend who bought them for me, and they traveled around the world a couple of times before they reached me. I call them my swan scissors. Try to be as precise as you can. As I say, at every stage of your project, strive for perfection and accept. Okay, this is my first pattern. I'm going to put it on the side, and depending on whether you want to go for a very contrasting color or something that works with this, you can use different sides of your pre-felt, or you can use something entirely different. So I do like a little bit of a drama in my project. So I would go for a totally different color with this project now. And I'm going to make the wing of our bird in different color. So I've made the wing. Look of how different the colors would be, but I like that. And then I'm going to be cutting the rest of the bird. Really important to choose something that really inspires you. My bad scissors fell on the floor. Okay, and we have the bottom of our bird. Now what we need to be doing would be the top head of our bird. And I would be using again contrasting colors for the simple reason of just creating a little bit more drama and giving a little bit of interest to the whole project. But you can go with something completely different if that's something that you're curious about. So you can, let's do this. Just first pin your pattern and cut your pieces. The next stage would be to start laying your fibers. I have limited use of my right hand, so I pull my fibers by putting them under my non-active hand and then pulling them with my active hand. And I pull them by placing my fingers on the widest, by placing my fingers on the widest part of my palm. And as anything, you strive for perfection, but you accept the limitations of that particular day and that particular wool or your own mood that might influence also how you work. So I'm going to switch again to show you the process of laying the fibers. As I said, you can see this as many times as you like, and there will be still something to learn. I place the fibers halfway through their length. So if you look at the length of the fibers, they start thinning down somehow approximately halfway the length of this particular fiber, and that means that you are, if you have an imaginary weighing scale and tool that measures the thickness of your project, you're trying to make the fibers equally laid in every single square millimeter and centimeter of the surface that you're covering for this particular project, because different width and different weight, and different thickness means that you will have different shrinkage. As you can see on this side of the project, I am flapping the fibers the opposite way. So initially they go from east to west, but then I make them go from south to north as well. And I lay 2 layers on this project. Okay, now I've laid the fibers going from east to west. Now I want to lay fibers from south to north. And I'm going to do that by using a combination of this color that we've just used and this color, just to give this project a little bit of warmth. And I'm going to start laying fibers from top. So I'm going to start laying fibers from north, and then I'm going to meet them, fibers coming from south. Because I want to use this beautiful blend here, I'm actually putting fibers is up in opposite direction, and the hand side is going to the bottom. Okay. Once you have this, you can start laying your pattern. So the first thing I would do is I would put the bird in the center. I will put the wing of the bird, swap it, and then so I need to move slightly my bird to have space for the beak. Then I'll start taking those bits off. Side. Look at my bird and choose what would work for a beak, and I believe that this blue would be a beautiful beak project. So I'm going to cut this here. Make this, trying to make this as precise as we can, and then we're going for the crest of this bird. Further down, face, and I'm aiming for as precise as I can of the shapes that I'm using, And that is because if they're more precise now, I'll finish with a project that is easier to get to the stages I want it to be later. And there we have it, our bird is all laid down. Now comes the really enjoyable part of making this project into felt piece. For that, you would need hand warm water that is filled with soap. You would need water filled with soap. I shake mine till the project becomes really, till the water becomes really soapy. It's almost like you spraying your wool with foam. And after that, I just cover and work with a little bit more water on top so I can slide my hands. I can slide my hands up and down easily to start the felting process. I do this for about till I count to 30, and that is my measurement, but I think you should go for 10 minutes. Try to do this for 10 minutes. Okay. This stage usually is the stage where children ask me that, every 1 minute or so, are we nearly there yet? So I use it to sing a song. You can sing any song, or you can just listen to music yourself. After you've done this for about 10 minutes, ideally you would open it up to double check if your project is working properly and if the spaces between your pre-felts are at a good distance. I'm trying to go for about 1 centimeter when I start, and at this stage I want to see half a centimeter. Sorry for using the European metric system. It's just it's something I grew up with. And once you're happy that your pieces are in a good position here, what I advise to do is to flip this downwards and do this side for another 5 minutes. And you go up and down and sideways, and also you can go in circles. As you saw, I put a little bit of extra soap on top. I then open it up and I start rubbing it from the back. Rubbing it directly gives faster results because you're working your hands directly onto the project. And you can see how the project starts shrinking, which means that the fibers are starting to come together. So from just single fibers, now you're transforming this into fabric. I love felting because the process of how something is transformed from singular fibers onto unified fabric really is reflecting how I feel about community and about us living together. I really enjoy this way of reminding myself how we are all part same and how wonderful it is when we work together, come together as a fabric. And you would know that you're making progress because some of your fibers from your pre-felt will start seeping through the, the back, and you will be able to see them once you look closely. So I'm going to show you this. And then if you turn it, you can see your bird coming together. Now you might want to manipulate slightly your bird. And from this, a bird like that is transformed into something like this. This is our bird. From here, with a little bit of freehand machine embroidery or some felt, needle felting, you can transform your project into stained glass felt. So keep on watching and check on Liaden's tutorial for how to finish that. And if you've never felt it before, check out Kaylin's for how to make felt. Thank you very much for joining me in my studio as part of this Keep Well campaign that was supported by Design and Crafts Council of Ireland and Felt Makers Ireland and International Felt Makers. And if you're curious about this technique, please follow all the videos. If you want to share your project, please contact us and send us a photo. We would love to be part of a big fabric in which we all create together. From me, Niki Collier, thank you very much. Keep well and felt with us.